So you want to know how to do a low bridge rotation. Well, in today's epic video that we finally got live, we are going to take you through a beginner tutorial with all the progressions you need out on the gym floor. Here we go. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Hey everyone, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister, this is my brother Yanni Burmeister, and we are the co-founders of Unity Gym and the co-creators of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, where we teach you how to nourish and move instead of diet and exercise. And if you tuned into our first broadcast, sorry for it cutting out. I seriously hope that we have fixed this problem. We're troubleshooting because we've got this new studio. Once we moved our internet in here and had new cabling, our internet just seems to drop in and out, and we have really, really good internet here. We've got fiber optic internet, which in Australia is a really, really big deal. We've got to pay top dollar for it. We had to pay thousands of dollars to get it installed, and in theory it should be fine. So we're going through our last phases of troubleshooting to figure out what the problem is, and hopefully we've fixed it now. So yeah, anyway, there it is. So look, anyway, we're going to get straight out on the gym floor with this one, because this is a question from Kwok. And Kwok, thanks for joining in, brother. He says, thanks, the day I've been waiting for. Yeah, this is for you, man. This is your question. And Kwok's a little bit of a calisthenics star. I had a look at his Instagram page the other day, and he's a pretty skilled dude. So yeah, let's see if we can teach you something new today. Let's get out on the gym floor, everyone. So the rotation to low bridge. The low bridge is really a more gentle version of the gymnastics high bridge. And the gymnastics high bridge is an awesome mobility movement, but it's very advanced and it requires a hell of a lot of shoulder flexibility.
Just quickly show the rig.
Yeah, this is the
the
cabling that I've just had to lay that's going directly to our modem to bypass all the cabling that we've had installed. So going from our router directly to the modem so that we can troubleshoot to figure out if it's a cabling issue. So if it cuts out again, we're going to know that it's a router issue, and then we can smash our router up with a sledgehammer and get a new one. So what we're going to do, the low bridge is something that I learned from Ido Portal, and it's just a really, it's a much more gentle version on the upper body. That's the main reason why you would do it as opposed to a gymnastics high bridge, because for a gymnastics high bridge, you need to be able to get your shoulders into serious flexion, and it's more than what some people will ever be able to do. The issues that you would have from shoulder impingement that would prevent you from being able to do a gymnastics high bridge, for some people it's just not achievable at all. So this is a really good option. That said, we've evolved our use for it. We haven't evolved the move. There's nowhere really to evolve it. But the use that we use it for is for not only for what I just said, but also for a really good anterior chain stretch, especially for the hip flexors and the quads, the rectus femoris. So the reason why is because the way that when you thrust your hips forward and activate your glutes and pull your body into this position, if you do it properly, you're really going to feel it in the hip flexors and the quads. So I'll just demonstrate first the rotation into low bridge, and just so you guys know what we're doing here. So you start from a squat like this. I haven't done any warm-up at all today, so this is not going to be my best effort, but nonetheless, I'll give it a go. I'm going to put my hands straight behind me from here, thrust my hips forward, rotate around, come back off, and then like that. And then if I go the other way. Okay, so that's a rotation to low bridge. Very hard for a lot of people to do. The first thing that you're going to want to do is work on creating some active mobility, so some loaded mobility through the quads and hip flexors. So a really good way to do that is to pull your toes into this position that I'm in, pull the hips forward as far as you can so that you tense the glutes, try and bring your rib cage down, and what that does is really make sure that you're not going to bend at the hips, because if you bend at the hips at all like this, hip flexion, you're going to detract from what we're trying to achieve here. So hips forward, glutes on, abs on, rib cage down, and then from here I'm going to go down as low as I possibly can and then back up. And that's an active or loaded mobility for the hip flexors and quads, especially for the rectus femoris. So for a lot of you, you'll barely be able to get past here. That's fine. I've been doing this for a while, so I can go a little bit further than the average person. And on an advanced version, you can even come back like this, come back. So you see, I'm not bending at the hips, I'm just opening up my spine, coming back, and then coming back up like that. So just working on that is going to be a really good introduction to this. The next thing that you need to be able to do is a low bridge. Of course, you need to be able to do a low bridge before you do a rotation to low bridge. So the way that you practice learning a low bridge, you're going to start with your feet right up near your bum, hands near your head, and now the whole goal of this is to drive my knees as far forward as I can. So this is where people get it wrong. People think that there's more reliance on your upper body with this move, and there's not. If you rely on your upper body, you're really just going to fall over. So from here, what I'm doing is I'm going to push my body forward, and now have a look at how I've straightened my arms all the way. From where they were before, I've gone as far forward as my arms will allow me, and now I've put my head on the ground, and I could hold here, it's not that hard. Now from here, I'm going to bring my arms in next to my head, and I'm going to do it on my fingers to illustrate how little pressure there is on my hands. And now I'm going to push up. So you can see I've got very little weight in my hands. My fingers aren't that strong. I'm not taking my whole body weight on my fingers. But that's the low bridge. And what you do, the goal is that from here, the knees go as far forward as they can when you do it, and the hips go up. So you want to work on that, and you want to be able to do that for, I'd say, at least 30 seconds. You really want to be going for 30 to 45 seconds of a hold for about 3 sets before you start working on the rotation to low bridge, the full advanced version. Another good drill is sort of, once you can do the rotation to low bridge and you can do that hero stretch that I just did before, the active hero, you can work on this one. So this is a kind of a bridging exercise. So from here, you start in a squat and drive the knees forward, hips up, and then come back. Because this is the hardest part of the movement for the rotation to low bridge. It's this concept of bringing your weight forward onto your toes without losing balance. So what I did just there, that's just something that you can do. You can definitely do that as an exercise on its own, but I like to do that just as a warm-up or just something that I do, on a day off when I'm not training, just to really, load up my quads and my hip flexors and develop that loaded mobility. Now we're going to move into the actual progressions for the rotation to low bridge. So just come over here, Richie. Of course. The most basic one, and this is really gentle, is to use a wall. And what we're going to do is just put your hand back. So this is the distance you want to be from the wall, where if you put your hand behind you, you could reach the wall. And from here, what I'm going to do, put my hand behind me, and now all of the weight goes on the heel of my palm. If I've got weight on my fingers or my knuckles, this isn't going to work. From here, we're going to bend the elbow and rotate the hand in so that you come around, then the other hand goes on the wall, and then you do the exact opposite. Rotate off, and then come back to here. So my hand goes on the wall, rotate, hand on the wall, both fingers are pointing down, rotate off, and then come back. Just come from here, Richie, so you can see from side on. Excuse me. Hand on the wall, looking at my hand. I keep looking at my hand the whole time as I rotate. Put my hand on the wall. Keep looking at my hand as I rotate off, and then come on. So that's a big thing about this when you're doing this progression. When you look at the wall, you're going to look at the wall the whole time. It's going to help you when you get down on the ground. Now from here, now we're ready to get down on the ground, okay? So you've developed your low bridge, you've developed some active mobility, some loaded mobility through the quads and hip flexors. We've practiced the bridging exercise, okay? We've worked on the rotation to low bridge. So that up there is really just to teach you how to move your arms, and now we're ready to get down on the floor. So from here, it's just now a progression of working towards being able to do the full rotation to low bridge. So the way you do it is to start with, the hand goes very close to the foot. The first mistake people make is they put their hand back here, and that's a big mistake because now I can't go far enough forward, okay? So what I want to do is to have my hand go just behind the foot, and then from here, I'm going to drive my knees forward and rely on my legs far more than my arm. I'm not leaning back on my arm like this. See here, I've got all the weight in my arm. If I lift my arm, I'm going to fall. If I do this properly, then from here, I've got very little weight in my arm. I can almost balance at that point. And all you're doing is learning how to bring that further forward. The hips go up, the knees go forward. And as you get more comfortable with it, the further forward you go, and the more you learn to use this movement with the arm, the more you can just rotate back into this low bridge and then come out. And that's it. For everything that I've just showed you there, it's just a matter of developing those skills, developing that flexibility, developing that awareness, and developing the strength. And that is going to give you the rotation to low bridge. Yanni, you got anything you want to
I'm just answering
add to it? We've got a couple of questions here.
Just people. Quack is saying awesome. He didn't realise that.
Yeah, so Quack's saying that he didn't that the tip about driving the knees forward is a really good one. He thought it was all just about pushing the hips up. Mate, that's what it's all about. That's where people go wrong. It's all about the knees going forward and the hips going up.
That's what I was going to say. I'll let Rad get his breath back. The movement is happening in the hips here. Like, although it feels and looks quite intense for the upper body, it's actually not. There's very little stress and strain on the upper body. And, you know, I believe it's a great conditioning exercise for the upper body because it's a coordination thing. But the majority of the movement and the load occurs in the quads, the hips, and the feet and the toes. You know?
Yep.
And it's a really great exercise to strengthen the forefoot and the toe, to strengthen that whole system. And
the whole anterior chain.
And the whole anterior chain, yeah. And look, we, as Rad said, we use it. This is part of our warm-up. We do it every day that we're training lower body as part of our lower body exercise-specific warm-up. It's one of the mobility drills that we do. And for the guys that are getting used to it, they don't do a full rotation to low bridge, but they do step over and reach as far over. So their lower hand
The first
goes
one
back,
that I was showing where you just push the knees forward and come back.
And then we alternate side to side, and you still get that really nice anterior chain stretch, and then obviously build on that using progressive overload.
Norman, thanks for tuning in, bro, and thanks for asking some questions. Being stiff in the quads is going to be a massive part of this. If you've got tight quads and tight hip flexors, that's going to be probably the number one thing that holds you back. But you've got to remember, I think this is one of the biggest problems that people go through when pursuing skills. I know this is the problem that I went through when I was younger, and I had natural talent and all of the drive that anyone would ever want in the world, but no understanding of how to progress. And what people do is they see a move and they think, I want to do that move. And then they try to do it and they can't do the move and they say, oh, well, I can't do that move. But you don't understand that, like, in my opinion, being able to do a rotation to low bridge, being able to do the middle splits, a full bridge, whatever it is, it's an expression of the flexibility or strength or combination of both that you've earned from your hard work. Like people say, we get, without a doubt, the most controversial move that we do, that we get the biggest criticism from, is the Jefferson curl or a loaded spine flexion, okay? And people are always saying, oh, that's fucking ridiculous. Why would you teach people that? You're gonna totally wreck people's backs. And I say, well, who are you talking about? Because if you're talking about someone with herniated discs that's in and out of physios and has had spinal fusion or God knows what, then yeah, this is the worst thing you could possibly give them. And it would absolutely put them in a wheelchair. But we don't do that to people. We don't say to someone off the street, hey, grab those 20 kilo dumbbells, we're gonna do a Jefferson curl, let's see how your body handles it. That's not how it works. So when you see somebody do something like a Jefferson curl, like the middle splits, like a rotation to low bridge, it's the end result of an expression of all of the work that they've done.
And training is not showing off in most cases. And this is a good example. This morning, while I was training, I was doing my skills training on handstands and L-sit. Now, I can do an L-sit for about, a decent L-sit for about 15 seconds, but my program that I'm working on right now required 20 seconds of time under tension for 6 sets. So I was doing a regression of the L-sit where I touch my toes on the floor still for the majority of the contraction. And one of my members said, can you not do an actual L-sit? And I said, yeah, of course I can. And they said, well, why don't you do the L-sit? Because I can't hold it for long enough to get the volume that I need for the loading parameters that I'm working on right now. And they sort of looked really perplexed, like, why wouldn't you do the most extreme version of the movement that you can do, or the progression that you can do all the time? Training is not always about doing the hardest possible thing. It's about accumulating volume and slowly, progressively overloading to get the intensity. Now, if I was showing off and I only wanted to hold it for 10 or 15 seconds, yeah, I'd probably demonstrate the L-sit. But that's not how I train. You know, and for many of you guys doing the rotation to low bridge, you're not going to be doing the rotation to low bridge while you train. All you might be doing, especially yourself moving free Norman, is when you, if you've got really tight quads, then that's all you're working on. You're working on a regression that hits your quads and hip flexors sufficiently to build and progressively overload toward that rotation to low bridge.
Yeah, and really, if you want to be able to do movement skills, and this is a movement skill, then what it's about is it's about attempting a version of the skill, failing, and then assessing which part of your kinetic chain is either weak, as in needs strength, or stiff and needs flexibility. And then once you assess that, then you work on what's required for that. And it might look nothing like the skill that you're trying to work on, but you'll do it for 3 to 6 months, make an improvement. That now is no longer the weak link in the kinetic chain. You test the skill again and you see if you can either do it now or if something else presents as the new weak link. And that is actually the real art of programming, and there is no short answer, because you could ask us a question for any single move, and for every single person, even the same move, 10 people could ask you, why can't I do this? And you'll get 10 different answers, because everybody's body is so individual, is so different, and that is the art of programming and assessing, and that's something that comes from years and years and years of practice, and it's the real reason why Yanni and I have a job, because the average punter, it takes so much work to understand how to figure this stuff out and how to write an effective program. So yeah, look, Quack, I'll just quickly answer your question here. Would you need to work on shoulder flexibility for this movement to really get it smooth? In all honesty, no, you don't. This is the whole idea. My shoulders actually only go to about this far flexion, so there's very little shoulder flexibility here. Thoracic flexibility, yes, like if you had real kyphosis and you couldn't get even a little bit of extension in your thoracic spine, that could be a problem. But this is really to do with the hip flexors and abs in the anterior chain. So mostly quads and hip flexors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much wrapped it up. We could go deeper into sort of more regressive quad and hip flexor stretching and things like that. I wouldn't mind doing a routine for low back tomorrow. Fix low back pain in under 5 minutes routine, because I've had a few people asking that, and that's something that Rad's put a lot of effort into, because he used to suffer chronic low back.
I could spit that out with my eyes closed.
Yeah,
so that's
maybe
fine.
that's what we'll do tomorrow, because they also build on this, and it'll give you guys some regressive stretching and mobility drills for your quads and hip flexors.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Norman, so you're saying that while practicing pike flexibility, your hip flexors were weak. Yeah, look, if you're doing compression strength, then absolutely you might notice that your hip flexors are weak. But that's really that's like the total opposite to what this rotation to low bridge is. That's a whole nother topic there. So if you do want us to help you out with that, just leave a more specific question, and maybe we can do a show on it for you and help you out.
Absolutely.
Until next time, guys, we'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully we won't have any technical issues.
Yeah, happy Monday in Australia, happy Sunday in the US, and wherever you're from, happy whatever day it is. We'll see you soon.
See you later, everyone.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, that's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that far.
It's the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.